Welcome to another edition of the Cuddler Chronicles, Pain-Free Living Beyond the Body, right? And if you've ever been through a huge life change like a divorce or losing your job or losing a loved one, not having insurance is a big stress. It's a big pain in the... Anyway, with that in mind, here is Chris Tripp with Tripp's Financial. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, first thing, I'm very confused with all the different types of insurance there are because I know you have so many products and
Right.
it just... Talk to me about the different types of insurance.
Sure. Yeah, so really at its core, you've got at the very highest level of insurance 101. When we're talking about any type of insurance like long-term care, health, life, disability, it starts at a group level or an individual level. And that's one of the most important identifiers in any type of insurance is, do you own it or does your employer own it?
Huh.
Right? So if it's a group plan, usually, so anything I share today, insurance, remember, at the end of the day, is a transfer of risk and a contract between you or an employer and that insurance company.
Okay.
Okay, so insurance is just a premium payment. I'm trading this dollar to protect my family, my business, my car, my home. Any type of insurance is just a transfer of risk. I'm paying this premium to the insurance company to say, I don't want this risk on me or my family or my business or whatever it is you're insuring. So when we talk about individual insurance or group insurance that I'm able to help with, one of the most important identifiers in trying to understand what is it, what's it do, what are my rights, what do I get out of this, is it group or is it individual? And that's the number one thing we need to understand.
Right. Okay, so if it's a group, the group is really the client of the insurance company?
Correct.
Okay.
Annual enrollment time is right now.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of employers, a lot of employees are going through their annual elections, and they're finding that, oh, what I had last year is different than what I have this year. That's because you don't actually own that contract. You are a participant on a group contract.
Okay.
This is why I stress to my clients, it's important to just understand they're both extremely valuable tools. Because when you're part of a group, a large group, the premiums are much cheaper. Right? So it's a value for sure. I'm not saying one's less than the other. They just work differently.
Right.
And under the right advice, you should definitely understand how they work and make sure that they work together, not separately. So understanding what we have at work. So understanding what we have at work, understanding what we have individually, and not relying on only one or the other.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Work is a very efficient, affordable way to provide great insurance on ourselves or our family. Whether that be health, life, disability, whatever it is you're looking at. But that's usually not, that doesn't usually resolve the entire need. Okay, so usually we have a couple times our salary in group life insurance, for example. Well, imagine if you've got a young family, if you've got a home with a 30-year mortgage, is 1 or 2 times your salary really going to fix anything if you don't come home tomorrow? Probably not. So we usually try to say that the group insurance, extremely valuable, is kind of the icing on the cake. It's kind of just extra or the perfect. It helps get us to that perfect amount of insurance in the client's opinion.
Okay.
Okay. And so what we do is we implement as much as we can with our group plan, but then we look in the individual market to put other solutions in place to protect our family that we control, we apply for, we get approval for, we own those, we control those, and we make sure they're exactly what we're looking for. No one can take that from us.
Okay.
When you're in
So that's what you mean by control. In my head, when you say controlling it, I'm thinking, well, I've got this life insurance benefit with my employer, but what if I have like cancer and it takes me a long time to go? Am I going to lose my job and my insurance before my family needs it?
You could.
Wow.
You could.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You certainly could. But it's really important. So a lot of what I try not to do is speak in absolutes. Every group plan is different. Every insurance policy has different language mixed up in it. Different employers have different things that they fight for their employees to have when implementing a good or sometimes bad benefit plan. And I say bad loosely, because anything's better than nothing.
True.
So they're trying, but is it everything it's hyped up to be, right? Just make sure the insurance isn't bad or good. It's just understanding what it does, so you can be informed. You can plan around it,
Right.
and just take full advantage of what they're offering. But providing yourself and your family something in addition is usually, in a very high percentage of people, is usually needed. So
Yeah. You said a few minutes ago, you referenced a couple times their salary. Is that going to be enough? How much is enough?
right,
Because I know you also said that it's like how much is enough to the person.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest, or like what's a good amount?
Yeah. So that's going to be relative to the person.
Okay.
You know, and I jotted a few notes because the insurance can go a lot of different ways, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about types of insurance, we're talking about group and individual insurance, but then additional types of insurance within groups. You've got disability insurance. Does the employer own it? Do I own it? Again, back to what we were just talking about. Long-term care insurance, something people need to understand. But so many don't. So many don't understand and think it's unaffordable, think that there's no benefits to it if we died quickly. So that's one of the things I like to educate people on. But back to life insurance, kind of what's the right amount? Depending on what our work gives us, depending on what our other means are, our other assets are, that could impact how much we need.
Okay.
But the most simplest way I can help people understand this, if your family depends on your income or a percentage of your income, take that percentage, multiply it by the number of years you want that income here for your family. It's kind of one of the just easiest ways. Sometimes people will try to say, oh, I just need to pay the house off. Well, a lot of times when people have homes paid off, property taxes still get them.
Okay.
Uncle Sam still wants their money.
Yeah.
We still have to pay for our homeowner's insurance. There's still other bills, other needs, other things that happen.
Right.
So I never try to advise anyone on just paying off an asset. If that's what they wish, I will certainly help them do that.
Right.
But my guide is always, especially term life insurance. Term life insurance is really more of just a income replacement tool. If something happens to us, we don't come home tomorrow, that is designed not to replace us, replace our income.
Right.
So that our family and the financial plan and path that they were on continues.
Continue. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
In a very affordable manner. So term life insurance is one of those, people are always, oh wow, I can insure that much for that little. Term life is very affordable, especially when you consider what we pay in car insurance and other things.
Okay.
And the reason for that is those are at more risk of being damaged and injured and hurt. The car is.
Makes
Chances
sense.
are we're going to live a long, happy life. Most people do. But if we don't, you're trading, again, a transfer of risk insurance. You're trading the small monthly premium, the guaranteed promise this income's going to be here if we're not.
Right.
Right? And so that's why term life insurance is something that's so important for people to consider. And then get some assistance from someone other than a TV screen or a computer screen on what's the right amount, you know? Hey, what's the right company? The company really matters. And the future options of the insurance. You know, some term life insurance is convertible over to more permanent types of insurance with no health questions. So if health concerns in the future, you know, concern you, well, you need to go with a company that has free conversion options and opportunities in the future. What type of insurance? You've got term, indexed, variable, universal, whole. There's so many things.
A few of those I have no idea what that means.
And that's okay.
And that's what I was going to talk about is
okay.
that this is why somebody like you is so important.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I never knew life insurance agents before I met you guys. So it was, you know, not having it, I didn't realize how big of a risk that was.
Right.
You know, until, you know, my story, and we've talked about that. But, you know, my father stopped paying the last year of his life. And, you know, because of some health stuff going on with him, he stopped paying it. So when he died, he left me a bill, you know what I mean? So it's a big thing. And I love your line. I know this is not really what we talked about, but I love your line about how insurance is love. You know, and it's all the little ways that you can love somebody we don't even know unless we talk to somebody like you that you know, because you mentioned long-term care insurance,
Yeah.
and it's that's, to me, that's a new thing. I didn't know you could insure that.
Right.
But it's a huge percentage. Isn't it like 55-60% of people need it? Something like that?
Yeah, so depending on honestly, some of it depends on the city. It
Okay.
can range geographically. But what's interesting, you know, disability insurance is one of those, numbers are crazy. Like 75% of people are going to use it
Wow.
between 18 and 65. And think about that. And that's not because of a slip and fall. How many people do you know end up with a cancer scare, out of work for a health reason?
Right.
From 50 to 65, somewhere in there, they experience a period of time where they're out for more than 30 days. That's disability insurance, right? So that's why that is such a important tool to consider in any financial planning that you have, personal planning. Long-term care insurance, another one. Think about it. How many people do you know needed a nurse at home, needed to be in a facility where they were getting around-the-clock care? How many elderly do you know that's happening to?
Yeah.
Yeah. If a married couple makes it to 65, there's like a 90% chance one of them is going to last 30 years in retirement.
Wow.
So the other piece of long-term care insurance is not just making sure a family member doesn't have to take care of us in some of the most vulnerable times of our life,
Right.
but also protecting the other retirement assets we have from running out, because long-term care is expensive.
Yep.
Right? The health care, that is expensive. Medicare doesn't cover a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Not good care.
So, and you certainly don't want to have that conversation or ever plan to be a personal Medicaid if you can avoid it, right? Because then God knows where the help is coming from, or where you're going to receive the care,
Right. Or how frequent it will be.
Exactly.
Relative to how much you need it.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people who had to sell their house and then the money ran out.
Yeah.
And now it's like, what are we going to do?
Right. Or the Uncle Sam now owns their house because they went into a facility.
Okay.
You know, Medicaid is one of those things bankrupting a lot of state budgets. It's just such a high cost. So the tax benefits, you know, one of the things I talk with a lot of my clients about personally and small business owner clients, the tax benefits to some of these insurance plans. Okay, so life insurance, for one, is a tax-free payment. So
Really?
we don't write off the premium that we're paying into the policy, but if our family gets a check, they're not paying taxes on any of that. Long-term care, again, Uncle Sam wants you to have it so bad, they're allowing you to, if you own a small business, you can write off the premium, not have to report it as income, and it grows tax deferred in the right plan.
Wow.
So, and that's in some cases, but if that could be you, why not learn more about it?
Right.
Are you working with a professional, an insurance professional that says, do you know about this? Has they ever talked to you about it? That's where I try to sit down with every client that I can, that gives me the time, and say, look, let's at a high level review these options and just understand how they work, the tax benefits, the long term, the short term protections and gains that we can potentially get from this.
Right.
At the end of the day, I don't have a bias one way about the product, the design. I care about it meeting what your goal is, meeting what your need is. And everyone is different. Everyone deserves that custom plan of whatever is most important to them.
Taking care of your family is totally different than taking care of mine.
Right.
Right.
Right. They're night and day. They're very different. Any similarity that there may be, great. But when it comes to a financial plan, let me tell you, there aren't two equal clients I've ever met. Everyone has a story. Their story deserves to be told. They deserve to be heard, and some unique custom work needs to be done.
Speaking of that, different people have different amounts of people that they want to leave stuff to. So,
Sure.
like, is that crazy confusing how to say who gets what? No, it is okay.
It can be, right? It depends on how much there is to give.
Right.
Then it also depends on what is it we're giving. Are we giving land, something physical? Are we giving assets? How have the assets been taxed? Were they deferred taxes? Are they tax-free?
Wow.
What is it that we're giving then determines what's the most strategic, smartest way to leave it. Right? So, perfect example, working with a client here recently, they had their children listed as the beneficiary of a retirement plan. That was a traditional deferred plan, right? So everything going into that plan, they have never paid taxes on. It's a traditional 401k type of plan. Okay. The life insurance they had left to the spouse. So kids were getting the retirement plan, life insurance was going to the spouse. Well, in some recent tax law changes this year, you would have to, as a child, you have 10 years at the moment. This can change. So this is why you go to your CPA, your tax professional, for true advice. That's why I work with business attorneys, estate planning attorneys, and CPAs. But in this case, if they had passed away and they had left this retirement to their kids, their kids would have been required to withdraw all those funds, realize the taxes within 10 years.
Wow.
What would that do to their income tax? What would that do? Right. It could, depending on how much it is. They didn't have an advice. They didn't have someone helping them understand the importance of a beneficiary.
Wow.
Right? And so we flip-flopped it. We moved the beneficiary over to the spouse for the retirement. We move it over to the kids for the life insurance because the kids would get a tax-free gift, legacy. The spouse has different rules they have to follow. So they wouldn't have had to remove the funds. They could have left it there and strategically taking those funds out based on where they were on the tax chart.
All that little nuance. It's like, that's why you need professionals, man.
It's a lot, you know. The other
all
thing,
of that is a huge pain in that butt, you know.
to understand,
for,
but also
for us,
the loss. You could think you're leaving this wonderful benefit when you might be leaving more of a burden than you ever thought. It may not be the same gift you thought it was going to be.
Right.
It's certainly better than leaving nothing or a bill, as some experience. But it may not be exactly what you thought it was, just simply from a beneficiary not being listed right. Now, you share your dad's story. Mine passed away very young. I can tell you beneficiaries are key. Because not only was the planning not done the way that it could have been, the estate planning, beneficiaries were incorrectly listed. They weren't the people that they were supposed to be. Now, here's another kicker. Per capita versus per stirpies.
I have no idea
What in the world is that, right? Beneficiaries are key to any financial account you have. Especially with life insurance. The per capita versus per stirpies, so important to understand based on what your wishes are. So, per stirpies, let's say you had 3 kids. And if something happened to you, you wanted to leave everything equally to your 3 adult kids. And all 3 of those kids had kids. Well, per stirpe says you want to leave everything equally to the 3 kids. Well, one of your kids predeceased you. So it would leave 33% to 2 of your kids. The other 33% would go to their heirs. Okay? Kind of how you would maybe want to consider it. Whereas per capita, if we didn't think that far ahead, or maybe life had changed since we had originally set this up, and most accounts, a lot of times, are just per capita, that would have simply gone 50-50 to the 2 remaining kids.
Surviving. Wow.
And the one child with kids of their own would have not gotten anything.
Wow.
And that's a simple checkbox on a...
Is it right?
It's a checkbox and listing the beneficiaries appropriately. Right? That's some of the risk you can face when we're going on 1-800 Life and just checking boxes. Are you getting that level of advice? And these are little things.
Is that like a set it and forget it, or is that like, every time there's any kind of life event, you need to revisit all of this?
This is why you have an active, valued partner in your corner right? And so your insurance professional, you might have an insurance professional, a financial advisor, you might have one that does both. You need to have a good property and casualty person, right? Good estate planning attorney that is there for a phone call. These are key CPAs. These are key people in your corner that you should have a relationship, in my opinion. Especially your advisor and your insurance professional, or if they're one and the same, your P&C person. This is why I partner with a lot of really good people in each of these fields, because it's so key to what I do, and everyone should have the opportunity to just call someone and say, hey, how, help me with this. And if you do have that person, which hopefully you do, you call and check in once a year. If they're not calling you every year, you need to be calling them. Every relationship is two ways.
Right.
We all get busy. Business owners, individuals, there's no ill harm. There's none of that. We all get busy. So it's on you and them to stay in touch. Keep that relationship thriving, because life changes, beneficiaries change, things happen, our income changes.
Yeah.
Imagine you implement a life insurance plan that replaces your income. Over 10 years, you're telling me your income hasn't changed? Your debts haven't changed? Your bills, your family, all these things haven't changed? Sure they have. You should be working with someone to adjust your insurance portfolio just like you adjust any portfolio, any planning, any life, goals you have. So insurance, investments, all of it needs to be reviewed consistently.
And I think that's going to be my biggest takeaway from that. I need somebody like you.
Yeah.
And we need to stay in contact.
Yes.
Kind of the two biggest things. Because
Absolutely.
the rest of this world just seems like it's a rabbit hole.
There's
and I'd much rather have a map.
There's a video of someone saying something really popular. There's a new fad for this, a new fad for that.
Right.
Are these people even licensed to be speaking of that? Maybe, maybe not. Are they sharing advice? Sometimes they share really good advice. And so you go to your trusted professional. You say, hey, look, I just saw a video about this.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. Don't make them talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It helps them. It helps you, because maybe it's a video on this new idea that they've never heard of. It was a few years ago when kids on payroll started becoming really popular. Right? There was video after video after video for small business owners to try to gain some tax benefits of putting their kids on their small business payroll. Now, there's some things you need to consider and some things you need to be careful of. But absolutely, that was something that a client actually brought up to me, because I hadn't thought about the idea. He said, Chris, tell me more about this. And I said, I love the idea. But we're going to work very closely with your CPA, your bookkeeper, and make sure that we follow all the laws that are set in place. But if there's a way to benefit from being a small business, the backbone of America, of course we want to take advantage of that.
Right.
Too many times is it hard and difficult for small business to thrive.
Yeah.
I mean, we know the failure rate on small business. First 2 to 3 years, the fail rate is way too high.
Yeah.
If we can find ways to benefit by being small business, absolutely we want to take advantage of that.
Right.
Within all the proper rules and regulations that we have to follow.
Because then it seems good now, but in 10 years when the IRS is like, wait a minute.
We don't need anything catching back up on us. We want to follow every rule and regulation there is. And that's why, again, you want a professional, not a video.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So.
Okay. Man, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Are there any thoughts that you had that we didn't talk about yet? Like anything that we really need to know right now?
Yeah. Some of the biggest things is I stress this to every client. Number one, insurance has got to be affordable. No matter how great the benefits, the long-term gains can be from something, insurance is a contract between you and the financial institution. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you want to leave a $10 million legacy to your family, that's great. You have a heart of gold. But if you can't afford it and eventually that policy just has to be gotten rid of, you just wasted a bunch of money, including the insurance company's money. No one wants to see you pay for something short term because you bit off more than you can chew.
Right.
So insurance needs to be affordable. Then it needs to be the right amount.
Okay.
Lastly, you focus on the type of insurance when it comes especially to life insurance.
Okay.
Because if I deliver a death claim, that widow, that child, whoever is collecting that check, you think they're going to ask me what kind of insurance it was?
You mean like what type of policy,
Uh-huh.
which company? Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
They're going to
care.
ask what the check's for.
Right.
So we got to figure out, is it affordable so we don't get rid of it before it's designed to be gotten rid of?
Right.
Most insurance is designed to be temporary while we're working. Then some of it's designed to be forever. So we got to get that premium right, that's comfortable. So if you feel like someone's pressuring you into more than you want to bite off, it's the wrong person talking to you, because you should be comfortable in these situations.
Right.
So premium, amount of death benefit,
Yeah.
and then the type.
Okay.
Kind of when you're walking through insurance, focus on those three in that priority.
Okay. That's a really good
And
tip.
make sure you feel comfortable.
Really good tip.
Yeah.
Okay. So I always end with the same set of questions. I call it the painkiller closer, right? And this is just a set of questions to really kind of get some insight into who you are, right? Everything we just heard tells us you know what you're talking about, right? And you would be a valuable asset on our team, right? So let's start with, what is the best piece of advice that you've heard or heard somebody else give or been given in your field?
That's a good question. So, my field, I happen to be someone that helps with insurance and investments and different things for a small business or a person in their financial planning. But I still, my prior career was in leadership. Okay. I still feel like a mentor, a leader, an educator to people. So I don't try to pressure people. I don't try to sell people in anything. I just educate them on all the things that they can and could be doing, right? And some of the best advice provided to me when I was just getting into leadership was, surround yourself with the 5 people you want to be the average of. Surround yourself with the right people. Are they bringing you up? You should never be the smartest person in the room.
Okay.
But you certainly don't want to be the weakest either, right? Are you around people that are bringing you up? And if they're not, find a new set of people. A lot of great people out there.
Yeah.
So I'm always aware of who I'm surrounding myself with. What are they doing for me, and then what am I doing for them? Right? So relationships are key.
Yeah. I heard Tony Robbins say one time, you can pick your peers, and you should.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like it. Okay. What is the worst piece of advice that you've heard or been given? Or
Worst piece of advice given. Being in sales, because I guess technically we're all selling ourselves every day, right? We're all selling who we are, what we do, so forth. So for me, stepping into this field, there was some pressure from friends or others in the industry around referrals and new business and things like that. So I'm not a pushy salesman. So bad advice to me could be great advice to someone else.
Okay.
But for me, bad advice was the high pressure. Hey, tell me, who are some friends of yours that I could maybe call tomorrow, right? I'd rather build a comfortable relationship with someone where they are then a very big fan of mine, willing to bring me on a podcast, a big fan of mine, and then finding opportunities and ways to help me grow my business, help me help more people. So some of the worst advice that just didn't fit with me was tell me 10 people you know. Tell me, who in your world would take my call, and just pushing people into that. That wasn't good advice for me, but that's maybe good for some. It just didn't fit my personality.
it's like that old boiler room type, always be coffees for closers and that
some
kind
of
of
that
thing.
stuff is.
It's like the worst stereotype of multi-level marketing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely multi-level marketing. That's for some, not for all. It's yeah. I think we've all had our share in dealing with it at some point in our lives,
Right?
Because
right.
it gets around, right? So something about it works because it certainly is spread.
Right.
People are motivated by goals and potential, right? But for me, It's about people. It's just about building great relationships,
Okay.
creating fans of you and your business. Then the referrals will come naturally.
Right.
Then pushing someone, you know.
Yeah. Well, that flows into the next question. I think you already kind of answered it.
Oh,
but
did I?
what would you say? How would you describe your purpose in life?
Purpose in life, man. That's one that it's one that changes. I look back at, I started my professional career at 20. I went to a tech school out of high school. Started working for a Fortune 100 company at 20. Was there until my very early 30s, and now I've been doing what I do now for just over 5 years. And purpose in life to me, I love people, right? I love making a positive impact, having them, the joy I get from professionally at least, and a lot of times personally, which is why this career was kind of advised for me from a good friend. I like helping people see a way out of something, see a solution to a problem they're facing. I did that in leadership. They were behind in a goal. I showed them a way to get out of that hole that they were in to hit the goal that they had in front of them. I showed them a way to communicate more effectively with their peers. I showed them a way to personally get from a financial debt or burden to the lifestyle they wanted to live. Right? So personally for me, there's nothing better than being a husband and a dad. Personally, I want to be the best dad I can be. Skylar, she's 2.5. She's our light. She is just a blessing we never could have thought was coming. So personally, purpose, it's family. My family's so important to me. But professionally, it's like mentorship, education. I don't know the right word, but just developing people.
Yeah. Sounds more like going into the crap, putting your arm around somebody and saying, come on this way.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it's not crap. Sometimes it's a lot of good stuff happening, but maybe it's just disorganized.
Okay.
It's not always a bad situation, right? Sometimes you've got someone doing a lot of amazing things. They just need a little more guidance. What they could be doing even better.
That opens up a whole other thing. But that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
awesome. People don't have to be down and out for you to be able to come in and create value.
Not at all. Not at all. Some of my best favorite clients are people that have a lot of good things happening. They don't realize how additionally good things could be happening. They don't know all the other things that they could be doing that, they're
Good
missing
job.
out on.
Let's go to another level.
Yeah,
Type.
there's always a better way. And,
I like it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's me realizing you're doing all the right things. Tell me more about your business because I want to help your business. You don't need me as a professional. You already got your stuff together. You already have professionals you're working with. Now it's just a great new relationship with a new family or business or whatever the case is.
I feel like we might have answered the next one too. Then, like, what is something that that others value that you don't?
That's a tough one to answer.
Common response for first hearing that question.
What's something that others value that I don't? Well, that depends on the person I'm across from, right? Some people have a very high value on a bunch of acronyms and things behind their name. I have a high value on personal history. Tell me who you are. I don't care necessarily perfectly on paper if you are whatever you are as long as you're professional, right? Properly licensed to do the things you're doing, if we're talking professionally.
It's an important distinction.
But, but at the same time, if you've got an alphabet behind your name, but I trust the person with nothing behind their professional name, but they're a better person for me to talk to. For me and what I do professionally, it's so important that you feel comfortable opening up to the person you're across from. If you're hiding things, if you're not being fully upfront and open with a person in my profession or someone in a profession like mine, you're doing yourself a disservice. So if you can't comfortably sit in front of that person and just talk openly with them, you're sitting in front of the wrong person, no matter how smart they are, no matter what's going on, because they're not going to be able to do their best job for you because you're not being fully open with them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that really answers
I think so.
Your question, but
credentials, much more into connection.
Yeah.
So connection over credentials.
Sure, yeah,
right?
I'd be okay with that.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you could create one law that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
I mean, do you give the Miss America World Peace thing? Do you? Just kidding.
Only if you do the wave.
Right, you gotta do the wave with it. For me, I come back a lot of times in personal relationships, business relationships. Perception is reality. Mm-hmm. That's something really important to me. I try to be very careful, and I'm not perfect. So if I've made a mistake, if anyone ever watches this video and they're like, he's definitely said some things didn't mean to say. None of us are perfect.
Yeah.
But that's really important to me, is I try really hard to, anything I'm saying, anything I'm showing, anything I'm doing, my first thought is, how is it going to be felt? Instead of, what is my intention? Mm-hmm. So perception is reality, right? So to me, that means if I'm saying something, my first responsibility, and this may not be viewed the same by everybody, but for me personally, I try to make sure I understand how you're going to receive this message before I worry about saying it. So,
yeah, definitely trying to say what you mean. That's versus just
but knowing your audience and how they're going to receive it is just as important as the message you're giving.
That's so tough because we like to judge what we do and what we say based on our intentions, and then a lot of times we filter what somebody else says through our insecurities.
Sure.
Or our pain.
Yeah.
So it's that's really hard, but it's I think that's something that definitely is worth the effort to try to do.
If you can. And I'm not saying you go overboard to the point where you're afraid to say anything.
Right.
But if you're going to say something, if you're going to do something, if you're going to be something,
don't be nonchalant.
Why not? Yeah. Why not consider, how is this being received? And that was from one of my mentors. Mm-hmm. I learned that very early in leadership.
Okay.
I'll never forget. I was working in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was on a 6-month stint down there before I moved up to St. Louis. And one of my favorite leaders I've ever worked for, again, best friend, still mentor, that was his advice. He's like, how do you think you were received? I was a brand new leader, brand new manager. And I was speaking to a group of probably 40, 50 peers and employees. I was speaking to this room full of people. We're at a Courtyard at Marriott in Charlotte. I can remember it so vividly because it was so impactful, and it changed, just the one piece of feedback changed how I delivered so many messages. And this was back in 2012, for so over 10 years. Perception is reality.
Yeah.
Right? How they felt after your message, does it really matter what you said?
Right.
How did they receive it?
Right. You might have the best idea in the world, but if they think you're a jerk, they don't care.
Right. If you didn't deliver it in a way where it was received the way you intended, go back and fix your message.
I like it.
So,
I like it.
Anyways, whether that needs to be law, best practice, I don't know, but that's something I try to do.
Yeah, I don't know how you would word that, but I get it. Like, consider others before you speak, maybe.
Yeah.
I like that one. Okay, so is there a book or a podcast or a movie that you're really passionate about? And if so, why?
My wife would say I watch too many videos, I watch too much television, and
jokingly,
it doesn't matter what it is. If I watch one thing, I tend to watch it on repeat all the time. Like I'm not afraid to replay something. But as far as books and things I'm passionate about, Blinkist is an app. It's like $100 a year, but that's probably one of my favorite downloads and self-help kind of things I've done in a long time. With a 2-year-old, 2.5, being married, small business. There's not a lot of time in the day.
Yeah.
Blinkist takes books and shrinks it into a 25-minute or 15-minute message you can listen to, you can read, and it's a crazy amount of books and everything from relationship advice, politics, history, leadership books. There's endless supply of reading material in there, and if you want to get through a book, I typically get through the first chapter if I even make it there, and it goes on the bookshelf and forgotten forever. But my book collection is huge. Have I read them? Probably 3 books I've actually read the whole book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I end up getting busy with something, it goes on the shelf, and it never picked up again. 20 minutes in a car ride, I can knock a book out. I can get the nuggets. I can get the important things, the big takeaways.
That's cool.
That's an app, but
yeah,
not a movie. It's not
I mean, but it's
app
awesome.
is really cool.
Yeah. I thought I was doing good to have Audible go on like 2x speed.
Yeah, right? I can get it done in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
But
pretty good.
But again, depending on the reader, I'm not the one reading the book. So I am giving a little something up. Maybe there's something you take away from that book that I don't get to because I took the short way out. I don't know.
Right.
There's always a balance.
Yeah.
So,
last question.
Okay.
We're almost done. When you're done, how do you want to be remembered? Or what do you want to accomplish?
When I ask this question to clients, it's a slightly different matter. What do you want your legacy to be? Usually financially. The interesting thing is, like, some of us think our name and is going to live forever. Typically, you're remembered for 1 to 2 generations, right? Unless you conquered the world, you're remembered for the average person for 1 or 2 generations. In my industry, you can change that a little bit, right? You can create more of a business legacy or even a financial legacy with a lot of the tools and things that I know how to do, which I teach people all the time. But I guess the most important for me is I want to be remembered as someone that was giving, right? I try to not only give with any extra means that I have, but also, most importantly, my time. Again, my mentor, I'm always seeing his posts. I think he always hashtag 1440. We all get the same amount of minutes a day. We get the same time a day. That's the one equalizer of all, is time. We don't get any more, any less every day. With my time, I invest in family, I invest in my business, I invest in my clients. But what am I doing? Is there somewhere else I'm able to invest my energy, my knowledge, my time in helping others and being a giving nature? So being on the board for the Kidney Foundation, very rewarding. Being a Rotarian for the last 5 years and serving on the board, serving at different events we do. Very rewarding. Great organization. I guess I just want to, if anyone talked about me after death, he did a lot. He was very giving. He was very, that'd probably be a great way to be remembered, right?
Okay. I think so. Yeah. I think so. So tell people again, your name, Chris Tripp with Tripp's Financial.
Chris Tripp.
How do they find you?
So number of ways. They can reach out to you. You got all my information.
True, I do.
So when they're in pain, call this guy. And then, when we want to fix the financial pain, you call me.
Okay.
But I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Our website will be up sometime first of the year. We're in the midst of reworking that. We have a very basic website at the moment. But, I'm on the main ones, Facebook, LinkedIn. And I just have you may get connected to me one way or another through another business owner or a friend that I know, hopefully. They're my fans out there that trust me to help them with what I do. And I hope that they're always out there sharing with others what we do and the peace of mind that I provide.
I like it.
Yeah.
Peace of mind is definitely a pain reliever, isn't it?
Yep.
So, Chris, thank you so much for being on the Cuddler Chronicles.
Absolutely.
Pain-free living beyond the body.
Thanks so much.